Hello Cherries fans, welcome to the show. You'll have seen that AFC Bournemouth have tweeted. It's on their website, it's on their socials. Max AARONS is a cherry. We didn't think he was going to be. We thought he was going to go to Leeds United, but somehow a quick U-turn, something happened. Tom, how happy are you with that?
Very happy, and yeah, we'll find out how close he was to joining Leeds. But I suppose, you know, when a massive club like Bournemouth comes in, what can you do? What can you do? I'm sorry, Leeds fans, but, you know, bigger club comes calling.
Well, to speak about it, we are pleased and proud to introduce the one and only Chris Reeve from not only Talk Norwich City, the number one and best Canaries YouTube channel, but also, Chris, The Scrimmage on BBC Radio Norwich, Norfolk.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the one. How are you, sir? You all right?
Thank you for the kind, warm welcome, lads. Delighted to be chatting with you about Max today. I'm well, thank you. I'm obviously naturally sad that such a great talent is leaving Norwich City. But yeah, no, I'm actually feeling relatively optimistic at the moment because we've managed to scrape past Hull on the opening day, and in the yellow and green world, we've gone from sort of the doom and despair of mid-table mediocrity to getting on our. Hang on a minute, one moment. Getting on our sailors' hat.
Oh, here he is. Here he is.
It's the league, boys.
You know what? It was during that COVID system where I had to endure on YouTube. It just popped up every time you and Jack in your sailors' hats doing all this. And we limped to the playoffs, didn't we?
We done the double on Norwich, thank you very much.
We did do the double. Yeah, we did do the double on
Beat
Norwich.
us at home, didn't you? Because I think you got one of our players unfairly red carded, I think, and we were still hungover, so it was obviously an easy win for you.
Definite red card. Definite.
Yeah.
I can't remember it, but it was definite red.
That was when Dan Juma scored that worldie, wasn't it?
Yes, and then I think he got the winner. It was really early on in the home game. We beat him 1-0 when we started the season well. But yeah, that Norwich team back then were bloody good to watch, weren't they? Cantwell, Pookie, Buendia. Yeah. Just seen Buendia's got a really bad injury. Just thinking about him for Villa. Ooh. Big blow for them because he was a class act.
And linked to all of this, lads, you talk about that group of players there. Max was in that bunch, right? And so, you know, the lads rocking up at Bournemouth with 2 title-winning medals around his neck and lots and lots of experience. You know, this is a player that's played over 200 times for Norwich. He made over 150 appearances by the age of just 22 years old. Literally took the place of a mainstay right back in Ivo Pinto and never looked back. He's just been absolutely phenomenal for us. He could have left for this is going to really excite Bournemouth fans. I'm actually so jealous of the feeling that you're about to get. Right, wow.
I know what team he's going to say.
This is a player that was relatively close to joining Barcelona. This is a player that was very close to going to Bayern Munich. This is a player that was very close to going to Tottenham. If it wasn't for Jose Mourinho wanting his defenders to be tall, I think he probably would have joined Tottenham. So, yeah, look, he's one hell of a player, Mr. Consistent, never puts in a performance that's less than 9 out of 10, even when your team loses. Fit, agile, positive, proactive, not afraid to take a player on, chucks in a CR7 chop every now and then. And I think he'll fit Bournemouth's system really well. I really do. And as we spoke about off air before we started, I think it speaks tremendous volumes that, you know, don't get me wrong, obviously Bournemouth are in the Premier League over Leeds, which we'll go and speak about in a minute, but I think it says a lot about the Bournemouth project and how much Max believed in it for him to take the leap to go to you guys.
But who's better though, him or Jack Stacey?
By the way, how weird is football? How weird is that? How I see it, lads, correct me if I'm wrong. So we've got Jack Stacey, who, by the way, is an absolute Rolls Royce. Thank you very much. And now you're short of a right back, so you've signed Max. That, to me, just sounds weird, but fine.
It was a weird one with Jack, because we all, I think every Bournemouth fan rated Jack quite highly, but he just always seemed to be the backup right back, and he couldn't quite, I don't know whether, you know, in the Premier League, his engine was just incredible. He just occasionally, when he come in, he just get caught. And obviously we were scrapping near the bottom of the league, and Smithy's experience seemed to just win that right back spot. But in the Championship, as soon as Norwich signed him, we thought that's bang on for them because I'm
delighted. I don't know how we've managed to get him on a free. I really don't.
Only a year left.
So thank you. This is why I was willing to come on, because you've given us Jack Stacey. I'm feeling lovely and friendly with the Bournemouth lot at the moment. So it's kind of you. Thank you.
We've got the equivalent of Patreon Ko-fi for our channel, and his stepdad was actually one of our paying members every month. Yeah, David, I think his name is. And
he's not anymore, is he?
No, he isn't anymore. But he sent me a really nice message, say, Sam, just to let you know, I'm Jack Stacey's stepdad. I feel as though I can't contribute anymore because I'm not really going to be watching your channel. So expect something soon from him, I'm sure. Okay. But right, so let's get this clear. From what we've heard from certain journalists, Max Aarons was having his medical at Leeds United and walked out. Is that true?
No, it's nonsense.
Okay.
And I know that people will give it the when they hear this, but I am relatively close with Max. I speak to him personally and his family too throughout his time at Norwich City. And he didn't walk out of a medical. That's absolute nonsense. Max is a absolute top professional. One of the reasons why Daniel Farke wanted him at Leeds is because he is a top professional. He didn't walk out of a medical. He wanted to tell me to put that out on my Twitter account as well today, because he is very, very frustrated that is what reports are saying. That's not fair. And I wanted to say that on here as well, because I don't want Bournemouth fans unfairly thinking, because of the salty Leeds fans, he's a bit unprofessional, he's walked out of a medical. That is just it's absolute nonsense, lads. That is the case. Like, don't get me wrong, obviously it happened all very last minute. Leeds went first with their bid, then Bournemouth and also Southampton followed, which by the way is a bit of a funky one for you guys, I'm sure. And he's picked the Bournemouth project. And again, I want to talk about, I know you won't like this, but I'll speak about Southampton quickly, because this is just how much Max believes in the Bournemouth project, because him and Daniel Farke are like the ultimate bromance. They literally love each other. He worships the ground that Max walks on, and vice versa. But also at Southampton is, of course, Russell Martin. Now, Russell Martin played with Max at Norwich, but also had such a super strong connection. Russ was raving about Max when he hadn't even broken onto the scene on our podcast years ago, and always tells me about the fact that, he was the one that said, look, he is going to make it to the very top of this game. He's one hell of a player. And so again, from a Bournemouth perspective, he's not just rejected Daniel Farke, he's rejected Russell Martin to play at Bournemouth. So but don't be fooled by some of the nonsense rumours. And certainly Bournemouth fans, don't listen to the salty Leeds fans. No,
I agree. But just for my own personal pleasure, so we can maybe clip a little bit up. So what you're confirming is Max Aarons has decided that Bournemouth is a better choice than Southampton and Leeds. Can you just confirm that for us?
Yes, I can confirm that.
No, but that's good. Now, I think the medical thing, like you said, is a good point to make. I can see why Max is obviously a bit frustrated by that, because that suddenly can damage your character from an outside point of view, and that's not fair if that's completely not true. Cheers for clearing that up.
And out of all of the players that we've spoken with, that we've had relationships with, he is one of the most professional players, even at such a young age. And that's obviously why he's played so many games at Norwich City, because he's got such a wise head on his still relatively young shoulders. Lads, I do want to get you more excited, right? I need to let you in like the caliber of player that you're signing here, okay? We've already said 2-time championship title winner, 18-19 EFL Young Player of the Year, 18-19 and 20-21 EFL Team of the Season, 18-19 to 20-21 PFA Team of the Year. In 2020, he was nominated for the Golden Boy Award, which you might be aware of as well. That's obviously absolutely massive for the best young players in the world. And he's been hanging around with the England under-19s and England under-21s for ages now. And so, you really have got one hell of a player on your hands here, and is absolutely worth all of the money that you paid for him. And actually, to be honest with you, I think that you've bought him at, don't take this the wrong way, I think that you've bought him at quite maybe a fortunate time, because Max's sort of trajectory and growth in terms of his talent and skill and his performance levels have gone up massive. Obviously, of course, under Daniel Farke, skyrocketed. And then we started to struggle in the Premier League, and it wasn't progressing as much, but we're still putting in some great performances against the biggest clubs in the country. And then under Dean Smith, and Max will probably admit this to himself, it really plateaued. he couldn't really do what he wanted to do. He wasn't being allowed the freedom to play, to break through the lines, to do all of the stuff that Daniel Farke had got him good at. And, I think he might even admit also that, he actually probably lost a wee bit of fitness under Dean Smith, as did the whole of the Norwich City squad. And so, David Wagner's obviously got them fit again. And he'll be coming to Bournemouth in really, really good shape, raring to go.
You've talked him up pretty well. Are there any weaknesses to his game at all?
God, that's a really good point. If I was to take off my yellow and green glasses and sort of think about this from a non-biased perspective, which is tough to do, I would say sometimes, understandably so, his height is something, right? And so you just obviously wouldn't put him in those positions where his height is going to be affected. But I think in terms of his defensive work, excellent. In terms of it's going forwards, which obviously a modern right back would need to do, excellent. Passing, excellent. I can't think. There's not one thing, often when you talk about a player, and particularly when the player's leaving, you go, cool, yeah, we've done well to sort of shift him on. He started to struggle. Honestly, I really can't think of, maybe his height, maybe from corners, maybe, and set pieces, or maybe if someone fizzes a ball into the box early again when it's above his head, maybe. But that can't do much about that, can you? And I think the rest of his game certainly makes up for his lack of height. Sorry, Max.
We've got two very short full backs now, thinking about it, with Milos Kerkez on one side and now Max Aarons on the other. I
think most teams do tend to, to be honest. And like you say, if you're nitpicking, that's probably something. But I know, obviously, just from watching him from afar, that always impressed me. I always felt that if it wasn't for the fact that England have got so many right backs, he probably would have got a friendly or two for sure. Yeah. But when I watched the tournament that obviously we just won, the England under-21s, he filled in at left back a few times because of injuries, and I kind of watched him a bit more in the final stuff and thought, he's better defensively than I probably realised. I thought he was a flying fullback that maybe got caught a little bit. But I don't know if I think people think that, Chris, but I think you're probably saying he's quite astute defensively as well, isn't he?
Yeah, I think you have to factor in, lads, that he's been, with all the love and respect in the world to us, he's been playing at Norwich City, a struggling Norwich City side for the last couple of seasons and before that, right? Yeah. And so, positionally and all of that stuff, you could argue that he's been dragged out of position because of the weaknesses of the other players in front of him and alongside him. And so, I wouldn't necessarily worry so much about that. I wouldn't at all. Although I would be very, very surprised to see him start at left back for Bournemouth. I think he'll definitely be a mainstay in that right back position. And by the way, you mentioned it, that tournament. Just remember that team didn't concede a single goal all tournament, lads. Yeah. And so in terms of coming into this Bournemouth side full of confidence, you lads will know how much of a importance it is to have a strong start to a Premier League campaign, sort of set your stall out as to what you will do, strengthening in the window, etc. So I think he'll come in at that point. And I think the other thing linked to the under-21s point and winning that tournament, and obviously winning the league at Norwich as well twice, Max made his debut for us, obviously very, very young, but he made his debut in East Anglian Derby against Ipswich when our right back, Ivo Pinto, picked up an injury, was very much thrown in. And the fans were like, oh my God, I'm not sure about this. That he'd actually played in the Cup the week before, scored against Cardiff again on his debut. And he made his league debut obviously against Ipswich. Massive game. And excelled, and it was like he'd been there for 5 or 6 years already. He just took to it like a duck to water. And so, I also don't want Bournemouth fans thinking, we're signing this young guy that sort of was in a struggling Norwich side. He's got a lot of experience, and I really, really do think he'll excel at Bournemouth.
So, is this season the one for Norwich? Is it going to happen? Because I was quite surprised. I thought you would bounce straight back, but it sounds like a lot has changed behind the scenes. Like Stuart Webber's now gone, is he? Is it a bit of a rebuild off the pitch as well as on it?
Well, So Stuart's handed in his notice. He'd done that in March, and it's just obviously come out relatively recently that he'll be leaving. If as we currently are, he'll obviously stay here until next March. He's, funnily enough, been rumoured to go to Leeds, which is funny because he's sort of mugged them off with this deal. But yeah, no, there's lots of change at Norwich City on and off the pitch, and it's desperately needed. We ain't going to yo-yo this season. I'd be absolutely stunned. It'll be an absolute Christmas miracle if Norwich go up this season. I think that, don't get me wrong, I think there'll be periods where we flirt with the playoffs, but I look at the rest of the league and the quality that's in it, and I just can't see us muscling on it this season, to be honest with you lads, which pains me. Particularly when I'm speaking to a couple of Bournemouth fans, and I mean this with respect because of where we were. You know, you and I, us and you guys. You know, we were both up there. You know, we were winning the league, second place, playoffs, etc. Or we were in the Premier League together, and now we've just faded away. And obviously, the reality is that you guys have got so much more money than Norwich City. But to be critical, we've spent it so poorly. So that's the reality of where we're at. You know, as I say, I am optimistic, but at the same time, I'm thinking it's probably mid-table mediocrity for us this season.
Yeah, I've seen that on a lot of kind of prediction things, that everyone seems to have Norwich mid-table, and it's interesting here because that surprised me a little bit. I thought a few would have them in the playoffs, but if you're saying that, Chris, seems to make a little bit more sense. And just having a little look at the squad on the first day of the season, I thought, I can see that they probably might not have enough, but as we know, got blooming good fullback in Jack Stacey, who I think will be a real. I always felt wherever he went, he could. I always thought that he might go because we originally got him from Luton, and I always wondered if Luton might try and get him back because he was loved there, and they just come up and they might thought he's had a bit of Premier League experience. So it surprised me, but I thought that's a really good move for him. So yeah, and it helped us get Max probably in a little way because they could afford to get rid of him. Just going back on to Max a little bit. Did you, and I know, like you say, he's been there for a while now, and you obviously knew that there was loads of links, like you said, Barcelona and big clubs. Did you anticipate this was going to be the season that he'd probably go?
No, I thought it was going to be last season, if not the season before. I think we've kept on to him way longer than I would have imagined. I think Norwich City obviously did well to keep hold of him when we got relegated for the first time under Daniel Farke, in fact, actually. And before we won the title the following season, even way back then, I was so surprised that we kept hold of Max. I was so surprised that people didn't actually bid on him before then. Maybe, well, obviously they did. These big clubs have obviously expressed interest and held talks, etc. But for one reason or another, these moves haven't happened. The one with Barcelona is an interesting one because they offered to take Max on loan, but it wasn't a loan to buy, if that makes sense. It was a loan. So obviously from a Norwich City perspective, why I can understand why they didn't release him, much to the detriment of Max's career and obviously ambition. But yeah, no, I am surprised we kept hold of him as long as we did. And he's I'm waiting for the reaction here. His agent is Rio Ferdinand.
Didn't know that.
So there you go. So that
ex-Bournemouth, by the way.
Ex-Bournemouth, yeah, of course.
So yeah, that I think that that can mean different things sometimes. But obviously shows he was ambitious to help Max get to the next level, and he succeeded in doing so now.
It means he's linked to a player that's won the Premier League. That's all I'm saying. I'm not getting carried away at all, but we are winning it all.
Do you think you could have squeezed a few more million out of us, really?
Yeah.
No, not really, mate. I think if you'd asked me this question maybe 2 seasons ago, I'd be wanting 20 million for him. And there'll be people that will scoff at that, but you've got to understand the caliber of player, the awards that I've listed already, the England appearances, the amount of appearances at such a young age, the Premier League experience, the fact that he's been touted with all these big clubs already, and an English player is worth more. I would have wanted 20 million for him, but as I said already, just one-ish season under Dino Smith, and it didn't work. And Max isn't the only player, by the way. All of that Norwich City squad lost a hell of a lot of value because we didn't really play a particular way. We didn't even win football matches, which you'd sort of expect when you hire a manager like that to try and just squeeze anything out, make it happen, Brexit football, whatever you like. But yeah, no, he's lost value. And that's why I'm saying I think you bought him at a good time. I think if you'd left it maybe one more season, maybe things would have been better value-wise. But in terms of his levels, I don't know if he would have started to drop off. So I think he's got the platform now to go on and succeed. He'll want to prove a point. He'll want to hit the ground running in his first Premier League season with Bournemouth for sure, obviously. And he'll have a point to prove, right? Because he's got all these Leeds fans now giving him stick for not playing in front of the Ellen Road massive and all this stuff, right? And I think he'll want to show everyone that he is well deserving of this move, and I have no doubt that he'll fit into Bournemouth like an absolute glove.
When you see the photos, obviously they've been tweeting about it and it's on social media. Sometimes, like some players just look weird in another colour shirt.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
He looks good in red and black. I've got to say, he does look good in red and black. One of the questions, is he injury prone at all? Or does he pick up many injuries? Because Bournemouth have got this habit of signing players that never quite hit the ground running or have always got some kind of injury, or is he ready to go?
No, he's ready. He's ready. There's obviously been times where he's picked up knocks and stuff. But the great thing about Max is that he has just been Mr. Consistent, always there, one of the first names on the team sheet. And considering what he puts his body through when he sort of gets on the pitch, it actually surprises me that he's not an injury-prone player, just because of how aggressive he is in his style of play, and because of his, again, with respect him, because of his size, he's coming up against some absolute battering rams, and yet he's obviously this really sort of small, muscular guy, and he's in good nick. He's certainly not injury-prone, so you don't need to worry about that either.
Goodness. And it sounds just like that's what our new gaffer, some of the things he's kind of said with his style is, players with speed, energy, aggression, and that seems like he ticks all them boxes. So he'll be buzzing with that as well. He was you probably know, but he was a former right back himself, our manager Iraola for Spain. So he will probably think he's got all the attributes of, and hopefully Max will think, I'm playing under a gaffer that used to play in my position. I can thrive off that. So pretty exciting, isn't it? And I'll tell you what, it's nice at this stage of the season. If we're ever talking a Norwich fan, it's normally because we got them away in the bloody League Cup. Yeah. So
2 seasons in a row.
Yeah. So it's nice to be talking about something a little bit more positively. Yeah.
So now we've gone from the furthest team east to the furthest team west by drawing Swansea.
Yeah,
Can't wait for that. Tom, you seem excited. Chris, I want you to do me a favour.
Yes.
Send a message to Max AARONS. Tom Jordan thinks you're his favourite player already. That's what you can do, because he's well excited. You can tell.
Well, I'll send him a video. I'll send him a link to this video. I'm sure he'll watch it, because and by the way, he'll watch your channel, because he is one of those players that genuinely cares about the fans, and it's not just a thing that you drop into post match. Like, he really cares. He has donated things to local charities before that we've supported. Just very recently, actually, before his move, before he went off to England, he'd given us a shirt for a local cancer charity. He's given me boots before. During our 24-hour watch along, he was donating money, and so and I know that people will look at that and be skeptical, but I promise you, he really is a top man, humble, caring, kind, and so he'll be watching this. He will want to understand, what the Bournemouth fans expect, and he'll want to hit those levels, and he will hit those levels.
Well, Max, if you're watching, the link to our Ko-fi is in the description.
/coffee.
More than welcome to, but you don't have to. But either way, welcome.
Yeah, welcome, Max.
Look after him, lads.
We
will.
One thing I'd say to you: this isn't one of those ones that I've done with a club that have obviously just signed other players, and I'm like, all right, see you later. Like, please promise me you'll look after him, because he deserves it. He really does deserve it.
Awesome.
There's certain interviews we've done for fan channels when our players have moved on, players that are surplus to requirements, and we quite often, we don't want to be doom and gloom for these clubs that they've joined straight away, because their fans are going to be hanging on their every word, and so we've tried to be kind of positive, but it's clear that yours is 100% authentic and genuine. Really excited for the guy as well.
Yeah, very, very much excited for him. I wish him all the very best of luck. He knows that anyway, and I think he'll go on to have an absolutely fantastic career at Bournemouth, and maybe beyond as well, right? Because as I've said already, Rio's the agent, and you just never know. You never know when he's put on that stage in a Bournemouth squad that play to his strengths. You are really going to get a fantastic Max. AARONS, by the way, not AARONS, I need to say. It's AARONS, so it's one of those things that he recently made that clear to the public-ish. Yeah. He was like, by the way, it's not AARONS, it's AARONS. We're like, what, mate? We've been calling your second name wrong.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I have to remember that one.
Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much. Just remind viewers whereabouts they can view your work, listen to your work, subscribe, etc.
Oh, everyone knows Chris.
If you want to laugh, well, I was going to say you might know me, but if you don't, you can laugh at the trials and tribulations of Norwich City Football Club by subscribing to @TalkNorwichCity, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, etc. I'm Chris Reeve. Go and laugh at me. And yeah, maybe we'll play each other in some sort of cup competition sometime soon. I don't think we'll be joining you anytime soon. And obviously, I wish Bournemouth the best of luck to stay up this season. My gut says you will. It's going to be really tough though. And I wish you boys the best of luck.
Chris,
Same to you. Thank you, Chris.
Absolute pleasure to have you on. Really appreciate the time, and we'll catch you soon. Cherries fans, if you've enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Give it a thumbs up, and as I say, make sure you visit Chris's channel too. We will see you in the next one. Up the Cherries.
Bye, Max.